Good afternoon, welcome back to the channel. It's actually Tuesday afternoon. I finished work early yesterday. I actually had a different kind of an appointment to attend, so I never made it down last night. Just these pots, I sowed these seeds. I don't know if you can see that, holes burrowed in it, little white flecks. That's all the leeks or onion seeds that were germinating. Mice have been in these and plucked everything. I'd sown some broad beans in one of them, and I'm guessing they're chewed out broad bean shells. So I've noticed in the past mice have moved in over winter, even nested in some of the pots. So I think I mentioned in the last video I'm going to have to order some mice traps or something like that. You got to wonder sometimes, just why do you bother? Everything you do, something attacks it. So a little bit of life left in these tomatoes yet. Hopefully these two cucumbers will ripen up or fill out a bit more. They would be edible actually at that stage, but still a few tomatoes. I'm going to pick any ripe tomatoes tonight. So I remember a couple of years ago there was like a weekend the mice physically moved in, and all that was left was empty tomato sort of skins hanging off the plants. They literally abseiled down all the branches and just munched everything they could. So it won't be long before that happens again, so I'll be picking anything I can before I go. These were some like casualties when I pruned it last week. I just hung them up to see if they'll carry on and ripen. I think they will. They will actually ripen in complete darkness, tomatoes, so a cool dark drawer is often a good place for them. But ripening fruit gives off a kind of an odour that encourages other fruit to ripen, so I think one of the old tricks was leave a banana skin hanging somewhere where you want fruit to ripen, as that gives off, don't know if it works or not to be honest, but it supposedly gives off a few odours which tricks other plants into starting to ripen. I've got some dried leaves or something on them then, but hopefully they'll wash off and be edible. They were quite tasty, these things, called Rubalicious. I did grow that from seed, but I'll grow that again next year and give it a full season. It was kind of a late transplant. I'll probably grow this thing again, to be honest, because it's a decent, although it doesn't have a lot of taste raw, they do seem to sweeten up a little bit when they're cooked, and they are quite a solid sort of plump tomato, so they do make a good pasty sauce rather than just a sort of a really wet one. Kind of thick skins and not a massive amount of juice. The Sun Gold, by comparison, are incredibly thin skins and masses of sort of sweet tangy flavour. So these are sort of somewhere in between, a bit of flavour but still a little bit fleshy. In fact, they're the last few tomatoes on that. Not sure if the mice have already had a... Yep, they've already been having a nibble at that one. That's not a slug, that's a mouse, that. So, I might even have some poison pellets at home, I'm not sure, for mice. You put them in like, it's like grain that's been tainted, so see if I can find some. Don't know which is probably mice traps are more humane, to be honest. The grain makes them sort of bleed to death or hemorrhage or whatever, takes it back to the nest and the hemorrhage out, and then the other mice tend to eat them. So I'm gonna have I don't know what I'm gonna do with these. I've got some of that fine 10mm square mesh at home, so I might bring some bits of that in and cover the top of the pots. That might stop them getting in. We shall see what I can find. There's no point re-sowing or doing anything with them at the minute. They'll just get dug out again. So I shall check, see what needs watering. Very wet outside, it was absolutely hammering it down before, although the sun is out now, but everywhere's just saturated, big pools everywhere, roads outside's partly flooded, so it's sort of that time of year again, isn't it, getting there. What I don't want to do is what I've done in the past, is kind of left dead stuff in, and then it's just all sort of fungal spores when you're trying to clear it out the next year. So as stuff dies or finishes fruiting, I want to lift it out and get it in the incinerator ready to burn. After the fire on Friday, I'd left me sort of cover off the incinerator, so everything that's in there is soggy now. Just put the sort of cover back over the top, so that'll start drying out again now. But it'll probably be a few weeks before it'll be dry enough to burn. So I'll bring you back in a bit. I've pretty much picked all the ripest tomatoes. There's still a few that are on the change, as it were. They're not quite ripe yet, but they're getting there. The mice don't seem to be climbing yet, just eating stuff that's on the floor. So I've not touched them. I'm going to leave them for the time being. I'll dig out a bit of that fine, I think it's about 10mm squares, which is about 3/8 of an inch. So I don't think a mouse will get through that. So I might just cover these pots while I've got the seeds coming up, although they probably need replanting now. So it's just been raining quite heavily, so it's actually stopped. So I'm going to head back to my car and head home. It's gone 6 o'clock now. In fact, it's nearly 20 to 7. It's later than I thought it was. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. It's Friday afternoon. I'm in my allotment greenhouse. I actually have although I haven't posted it yet, but I said in my last video, a lot of my medical appointments will probably be ending, but I do actually have one later this afternoon, so I'm not going to be staying a great deal of time. It's very wet outside. It's extremely dark and grey outside. I think it's going to absolutely lash down. I just really called to see if anything needed watering in the greenhouse. I've not dug any mesh out yet. I did have a look in my garden at home, but the only sort of, I'm going to have to start taking my old chicken coop apart and recover some of the mesh off that, I think. So there's one of the doors I can take off it, which will be fairly easy. Remove the mesh. I don't know if you can see, loads of the seeds I planted are germinating, but it's full of like holes and divots where mice have been digging. That corner one, I'm pretty sure had broad beans in, and I'm guessing they've eaten all of them. The others I put some leeks and onions in, so I'm not going to try and level them off or do anything with them just yet. It looks like it's been digging in the corner of the tomato pots as well, in the back of even the cucumber pot, and there's one or two sort of tomatoes knocking about that got evidence of chewing on them. So I know there's a pile of soil right in the back corner there. I think they're sort of burrowed in the back corner of the greenhouse there. So I want to put a bit of like the mesh down and stamp it down under the weed membrane fabric, and put some of these stone chips back over. There's also, looks like there's a massive vineweed root poking through there as well, so at some point over the weekend I'll get in my garden at home and I'll retrieve some of that fine mesh. In fact, it's the same mesh I used when I made this riddle. So it's like 10mm. I mean, that's got loads of weeds growing through it. I've not used it for that long. But I made this riddle, so it's a 10mm square stainless steel mesh. So I've got some bits of that, like I say, around my chicken coop at home. It's quite a few years since I I did have a bunch of bantam hens at one point, but rats killed them all, so I never bothered since. But yeah, I've got some bits of this mesh, but well, they're part of the chicken coop, so I need to get rid of the chicken coop and probably burn it. So I'll recover the mesh and I'll just make some covers for the tops of these pots, so stuff can grow with. Hopefully, I know mice can compress this. They've got kind of loose skeletons, so they reckon if you can get a pencil through a gap, a mouse can just flatten itself out and slither through the gap. That's why whenever you see them in mice traps, the arm that's trapped them has literally pinned them flat. It's just sort of skin on each side, kind of weird flexible skeletons. So if that was a 10mm wide slot, they'd probably be able to get through, but whilst it's a square, I don't think they could squash themselves in two different planes to, you know, you'd end up with a mouse a foot long to fit through a little gap like that. So hopefully that'll be okay, but I'll dig that out at the weekend. Well, it's supposed to be quite warm, I believe, this weekend, and in fact next week's pretty warm as well. Having sort of a late or an October mini heat wave, I believe. It's really dark up there, so it won't be long before there's rain, and I've got pooling water on the sheets again. So just a short one for today. So I just want to check a couple of things in here for water, and I'll get going. Traffic's been a bit weird lately, so I'd rather be closer to home than further away as the appointment time approaches. If I come back over the weekend, I'll bring you back again, and I might end up combining, I think I mentioned in my last video, although from my point of view I've not posted it yet, but I'm going to probably start combining them. It won't be long before it'll be too dark on a night for me to get here, so any videos will be a mixture of both the home and the allotment on sort of Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing, when I've got daylight and I can get in there. So that'll be it for today. Only a short one, apologies for that, but hopefully I'll free up a bit of time soon and start sort of tidying up a bit over winter, ready for next year. Cheers now, have a good weekend. Good evening, welcome back to the channel. I'm in my allotment greenhouse at the minute. Unfortunately I've not managed to dig out that mesh at the weekend, so this is it's hard to show on the camera, but the mice have just been churning this up. So I think that was some red spring onions, if I remember right. That one was broad beans. They've dug all them up and eaten them. One of these was sensu yellow, and one of them was a Bulgarian giant leek, but they've just been completely churned up on top. I had planned to try and dig out some fine mesh at the weekend, but unfortunately I never got round to it. I seem to get easily sidetracked. Couple of tomatoes hanging on, ripening up. No more green ones on, red ones on this one yet, but I heavily picked this. Although there was some ripening up there that just hung on a hook. Still a few on here that may ripen up. Got one growing behind the aluminium there, between the polycarbonate and the aluminium, so I'll probably have two flat sides on it if it ripens. Still a few more heading up to the ceiling. A side shoot right from the ground there, but I don't know if it'll do anything. Couple of cucumbers that slowed down quite a bit. The temperature has dropped a little bit, although I think it's warm again this week, so might leave them on another week. Getting a bit overgrown with the weeds again. I'll have to probably have a session with the petrol strimmer again, I think. Not a massive amount going on out here. It's very, very wet. I did dump some kitchen waste in here, coffee grounds and all sorts just at the end of last week. That's dropped a phenomenal amount. I've been promised a lot of whitefly in there actually. I've noticed a lot of whitefly floating around even at work near where my car was parked. But I've been promised another sack of grass cuttings, so hopefully get them tomorrow. I'll dump them in there then. It's all weird bugs running around in here. See that fella there? So I'll leave that be. It won't be long before that'll slow down for winter. Still, that should be drying out nicely in there. Might get another fire in soon. Not sure if any of these squashes will develop any now. Need to harvest them onions as well. And probably harvest whatever potatoes are left in them tyres. So the place just needs a good strim over again now, and everything piled up and drying out to burn. A lot of slugs around as well at the minute. That could be a couple of leeks poking through there, still trying to grow. I've not seen the rabbit for a while, but there's definitely some mice about. Or voles, and they start trying to get inside to hibernate over winter. So there's a mound of soil at the back there. I think they've like pushed up in the corner there. I've brought a little present for the mice. It's like a grain with something on that, well, it kills them, long and short of it. They eat it, go back to the nest and die in the sleep in the nest. So I'm going to sprinkle some in this aluminium tray, leave it on the floor and see next time. Well, I'll be down tomorrow night. We'll see out if they're in every night and having a nibble. So I'll bring you back in a bit. Left that tray, that grain for the mice. Be interesting to see tomorrow how much of it's gone, as I've seen them empty a tray like that in one night. So hopefully the whole family will come in for a bit of a feast. But I need to, like I say, I need to sort this. I don't even know if these are salvageable in all honesty. I might sprinkle a bit of fresh compost over the top and see if they grow through, but just made a right mess of them. Can't really see, they've just sort of dug holes in it and ridges everywhere. It won't be long now before there's nothing left of these plants, and more or less done. There's just the last few. Probably another week will ripen off whatever's left of the tomatoes, and that'll be it then. Could do with trying to rig up a little shelf or something halfway up, a bit higher up out the way. Might have a think about that. I'll take this opportunity to apologise again. I'm way behind with my editing, so I think I've got a couple of fishing trip videos and probably 3 allotment type ones, so I'm a few weeks behind. I might see if I've got a bit of time tonight and try and get a couple more done, get a bit more up to date. So we're into the beginning of October as I'm recording this one, second week in October, so hopefully I'll get this out fairly soon, but obviously Some I'm still processing at home, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now. It's amazing where the sort of time just disappears on you. So I'm going to not a lot more I can do here today. It's 6:15, so I'm going to head home. It'll be getting dark shortly. I was going to leave that grain in my shed, but mice can get in there as well, and they'll probably although I want them to eat it, I want them to eat it sort of slowly in stages, so if I just put it in the shed, they'll probably just try and eat the whole lot in one go. I still need to try and find out where they're getting in the shed. There's obviously a hole somewhere that they've opened up, unless there's a gap somewhere that they found a way in. It's usually the gaps disappear over winter as the wood swells up with dampness in the air. All the gaps disappear. Then the height of summer, when everything's bone dry, there's like little gaps appear between all the strips of wood, and it is sealed and got wood preserver and stuff in, but it still expands and contracts with heat and dampness. Good evening, welcome back to the channel. Yesterday for me, but a bit earlier in this video for you guys, I left that foil dish on the floor with some red special bait for the mice. Looks like they've enjoyed all that. Everything's gone, so I shall leave them a bit more before I go. Obviously nothing's really changed in here. Vegetables are at the same sort of sorry state. I believe we're due our first frosts possibly end of this week or into next week. I think one night this week the temperature's going to drop to about 1 degree, so I dare say there's not a lot of life left in the plants that are in here now. They might if it can stay above freezing, they might ripen off the fruit. I might clip off the green fruit and hang them up at home. I've got some kitchen waste with me and a bag of grass cuttings, so I'm going to go and stick all them in the compost bin. I think I'll stick a bit of cardboard in as well this time, so I'll bring you back shortly. I say it every time, but it just amazes me how fast this drops in air. It's still generating a bit of heat. That funny bug I zoomed in on, and again this was yesterday for me but shortly earlier in this video for you, I think it's a larvae off a ladybird, or in America you call them a ladybug, I believe. So that's the larval form of the beetle that becomes the ladybird. I'm pretty sure that's what it is anyway. It looks a lot like it. So probably rummaging around in here looking for aphids to eat and stuff like that. You can actually buy them for insect control, you know, let them go in your greenhouse and stuff like that. They'll munch all the green fly and stuff. So I've got some of that corrugated or concertina cardboard, so I'm going to sort of shred this up a bit and put it in and then add the other stuff, so I'll bring you back shortly. That's the cardboard, a couple of weeks of kitchen waste and a big sack of grass cuttings back in the top. I'm not sure if this was a good idea or a bad idea, depends if I can shut the thing again. But I just sort of pulled the pin out and just wanted to have a look what was going on in here. So there's still a lot of like wood chip and stuff in there that's just under the sort of halfway point. Bit of vineweed root in there. So a lot of bugs and things running around in the layers. Obviously a lot of that crisscrossing pattern is because of the stiffener ribs inside the panel. That looks a bit weird, I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a giant slug. So you can come out and become bird food. But I'm not going to pull on that vineweed, it'll probably create an avalanche. So yeah, so that's what's going on in there. Now this has just been grass, horse manure, wood chippings. Every autumn I gather all the leaves off, the fallen leaves off my front lawn, and that can be a couple of bin bags full. They go in. Hedge trimmings, that can be 3 or 4 of them tubs. And I've still got more hedge to trim at home. I only did it in stages so I wouldn't shock the plant too much. So amazing how it just keeps sort of compacting and dropping, and as it's, you know, that's really rich compost at the bottom. This stuff has still got a bit to go. Get rid of the wood chips and things. For all the different insects all have a nibble and that. So I'll get this closed up and this rib back in, bring you back in a bit. Left a bit more of the special mouse food in that little foil tray, and I've also put a second tray with some in just on this pallet. I use 2 or 3 pallets here as a bench, so I'll be interested to see how they're sort of roaming and climbing around. They'll probably zoom in on it with a smell if nothing else, but so it'll probably be Thursday when I'm back here again. Well, that pot wasn't dug out that deep yesterday when I was here, so still burrowing in the pots looking for things. I just not that I'm trying to promote Amazon specifically, but they've got one of their, or certainly in the UK, one of their sales, sort of today and tomorrow's one of their sale days. I don't know if it's Prime Day or something, but I've just ordered a new solar panel which I'll set up down here, bigger than the one that's on the shed now, and that's not putting out anywhere near the kind of power it used to. It was not very big anyway, but I think next year I want to try and do away with these pots. I've had an idea for a while to run like an L-shaped pipe, say a 4-inch pipe, or possibly one, I think 110 is the biggest we get in the UK, millimeters, and just do like an L-shaped pipe, feed water in at one end and draw it out again at the other. I'll have to just use 2 pumps, one to flood it initially, then another one to lift the liquid back out into a holding tank. I'm not going to dig a hole in the floor and do it gravity. For what a little 12-volt pumps cost, it's not worth the effort, and I'd struggle to do that anyway. So this panel, if I get a better batteries, I was just using like an old car battery which wasn't 100% anyway. The panel should be able to power the existing one on. Just sort of see the 2 little tubes on the side of the shed there. Might be able to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, those 2 sort of with the grey pipe, the 2, that's I have shown it in an earlier video, a little hydroponic system I rigged up. But I'd like to have a go at doing the tomatoes and the cucumbers hydroponically, just instead of having a bucket full of compost that ends up full of weeds or mice. Just have the pots in like a 4-inch net, or the plants in like a 4-inch net basket full of sort of clay pebbles or something, and just use a couple of timers and it'll all run on 12-volt solar. So say every hour for 10 or 15 minutes one of them will kick in and flood the pipe, all the plants get a drink, and then the second one will kick in and pull the liquid back out into a holding tank. So I'll have a sort of think about how I'm going to do that. And I do have some pipe at home. I might need to buy some bits like elbows and end caps and things like that. Have a think how I'm going to support it. It needs to be off the floor, so might make some little wooden stands or something to elevate it slightly. So I'll get a bit of a plan together and I'll sort of bring you along as I do it. But like I say, I think it's raining around here tomorrow. I think Thursday's a warm day. Then as you get towards the weekend, the first really cold nights are coming in and temperatures dropping, and we'll start seeing our first frosts in the UK. All in all, I think excuse me, hopefully over winter it can start sort of laying some pipe and stuff out, although the mice will probably try and live in the pipe, but get an idea of where I'm heading with it. And one thing I did at home at the weekend, which I didn't actually film, I'll take some pictures next time I'm in the garden, did it in a bit of a rush really, but I have a couple of hanging baskets just outside the back door of my house. I went to my local nursery and I managed to get some herbs which I've planted in them. I got a thyme, I got a broadleaf sage, I got a trailing rosemary, which is not one I've seen before, and I got a little yarrow plant. Now the thyme and the yarrow, although I will use the thyme, I'll add some to me food and stuff, but the thyme ultimately and the yarrow are things that'll go into the likes of the comfrey salve. Probably not this year, as they're not harvestable yet, but thyme has some, I think it's some antiseptic qualities and stuff. The yarrow has sort of certain, I don't want to say what they are without refreshing my memory on them, but between the bergamot and the thyme, the yarrow and the comfrey, there's all kinds of antifungal, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antiseptic properties that kind of all aid each other, and you can make quite a potent herbal salve that'll, you know, avoid the need for and better probably for your skin and stuff than some of the chemical compounds you'd buy currently today. So there's a rather nice sunset going on out there. Settling on the treetops. A real orangey glow. It's not far from dropping below the horizon, it'll be all dark. So I'm going to wrap my stuff up, lock the shed. It's coming in over there, over the treetops as well. I shall sign off before this plane drowns me out. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Sort of nice view, that, really lovely colour. I hope the camera does it justice, although it looks very dark clouds in the background. So this is the solar panel kit. That's obviously the back of it. You got the industry standard connections. You get two cables with it which you use to connect to your battery. You get a pair of cables that connect the solar panel to the controller. Sorry, I don't know there in camera. So these hold the solar panel to the controller. A red one positive and a black negative cable. And you get I think this is a 30 amp controller. The panel is 100 watts at 12 volt. I believe it can deliver around 4.5 amps if I remember from the instructions. And there's some mounting hardware there as well. So I'm not going to try and put it together or mess with it any further. I just wanted to have a look, see everything was in the box. So that's the underside of the panel. They are supposedly completely waterproof and sealed. Really, I suppose it should go mounted vertically rather than horizontally. You do get some instructions in the bag, so I'll have a look at the instructions before I make a decision how I'm going to mount it. I don't think it would affect its ability. It's just whether or not the This needs to be mounted vertical to maintain its water resistant qualities. That controller looks a lot smaller than the existing one I've got, even though I think the one in the shed already is a 20 amp. You obviously get a couple of USB connectors on there for charging your phone or something while you're using it. You actually connect this, you got 6 connections. 2 of them go to the, like a car battery or something if you want, or a leisure battery. 2 of the connections go to the solar panel, and the other 2 are a switched output, which is what I on my existing setup I've then fed to a 12 volt timer, so that you can also connect an inverter to the battery, so you can run some mains powered stuff, just low amps if you really want to. But I found just using the switched output was good enough for the pump I was running. But obviously this one is a bit more, well, it's a lot more powerful than, I think the one that I've got there is meant to be 30 watts, but whether it was or not is a bit doubtful. But this one I'm going to need to run at least sort of three pumps, not necessarily all at the same time, so it just depends, I guess, how good a battery, but it should keep a battery charged no problem. And at least the mains, it wouldn't be enough to power a kettle or anything, but you'd be able to power a radio or anything, you know, low power. So this will hopefully be part of one of a winter project. Hopefully be able to sort that out over winter. So anyway, that'll do me for today. I'll bring you back tomorrow. Cheers now.